Hey, Steve Bentley here from Bentley Coaching. Just wanted to respond to a friend who had a question about training fasted through fasting, cleansing days, doing cardio training in more particular. So just a bit of background, I've coached people to over 1,400 Ironman races over the last 28 years in thousands of shorter distance triathlons, half Ironmans, marathons, half marathons. I've got a lot of experience in helping a lot of different people through thousands of different events over the years and helping them fuel effectively for those events, and not just fueling but also the nutrition around the whole deal. So here's what I found over the years. So if just quickly get this out of the way, there's three things that I'm mainly trying to help people with when I'm coaching them and I'm giving them a training program to follow. One of them is a muscular adaptation. So I'm trying to break their body down muscularly so they can get stronger, recover from that training effect, get stronger, and get better prepared to handle that kind of load going forward. Another one that's really key is fat adaptation. We're going to come back to that when we talk about training through in a fasted state, because we're really trying to increase, and especially an endurance athlete, we're trying to increase their ability to access fat for fuel by training in a fasted state. And then the third thing I'm always trying to do is more cardiovascular, so trying to increase their VO2 max, their ability to process and utilize the oxygen that's coming into their body and be able to perform better at a longer period of time. Because you need the fuel, you also need the oxygen, and you need to be able to process it out so that you're not being held back in terms of your ability to process that. So I'm going to give them training workouts that are going to help increase their VO2 max, for example, or improve their base training, or their aerobic endurance, that type of thing. So anyways, let's go focusing a little bit more though on fat adaptation. So when I'm working with an athlete and I want to help them become better at accessing fat for fuel, there's a couple different ways of doing that. I like to do fasting and cleansing days just for the health benefits of it. I don't want to get into that because I talk about that in a lot of other videos, but there's a process called apoptosis, and that's that it's that sort of scheduled regeneration, I guess. I'm just going to say programming because that's in there, but that scheduled regeneration of cells in your body. And the cells age, they get less efficient, they're less vibrant, they're less likely to do the things that you want them to do, they're less likely to recover properly. So if I can force that turnover by going through fasting days and get that apoptosis happening a little quicker, then I can have a higher percentage of fresher, vibrant, more energetic, more capable cells in my body, especially with my energy cells like my mitochondria, my muscle cells. I want those. I want stronger, healthier, more vibrant systems in my body. I also want that in my immune system. I want it functioning effectively. So if I can force that turnover by going through fasting days, that's awesome. I really want that. And that's one of the main reasons I do fasting, is because of that healthy aging component of it. If I'm going to do fasting though, I'm also going to add in a mineral drink to aid my liver enzymes in getting the trace minerals they need in order to process toxins out of my system. So I'm going to get that fat-soluble toxin conversion, get the liver enzymes in there supported by the minerals, convert these fat-soluble toxins into a water-soluble form so I can flush those out of my body. That's going to make that fat adaptation a lot better. It's going to keep me leaner. It's going to help my athletes lean out. It's going to make that fat more available for fuel, because fat's a great storage mechanism for a lot of impurities that people are eating, breathing, putting on their skin all the time. These toxins get absorbed into your body, and if your system is functioning effectively because you've got great nutrition, which hardly anybody does, then your body has a way of processing a lot of that out. Some of it's going to get contained in there, and I want to make sure I do everything I can to clear that out of my system. Once I've cleared those impurities, then I've got this great ability to go in there and access that fat for fuel more effectively now, and I can amplify that benefit by doing it through fasting workouts. So if I don't eat in the morning and I go out and do a workout, and if I'm going to go do a run for an hour, hour and a half, I don't need to eat anything beforehand. If I'm going to do a bike ride for a couple hours, usually about 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2.5 hours, I don't need to eat anything to get through a ride like that. So I can just go out and do that kind of workout. And that's at a pretty intense level. If I'm going to go aerobic, I can go for a lot longer without actually having to eat anything, because I've got a lot of endogenous fuel. I got all this fuel in my system as body fat. So even if I've got, say, 10 pounds of body fat on my system, that's 35,000 calories of potential energy that I've got there. And if you're relying on glycogen as a fuel source, so carbohydrates, right, your body takes that, stores it as glycogen in your liver as a muscle, I might get 2,000 to 2,500 calories worth of glycogen stored in my system. I'd rather rely on the body fat that I've got stored in my body than glycogen. And here's the other reason why. If I can lower my dependence on glycogen, then what I can also do is pull more of my energy out of body fat, and then I'm not going to have to refuel as much during the workout or the event. And that is so critical, because what I've seen over the years, it's not the fitness that somebody has going into an event that's going to dictate their performance on that day. It's how well they can fuel their body. And that's why the longer the race, like a half Ironman or an Ironman or marathon, for example, it's so important how you fuel. And if your fueling gets thrown off and things aren't getting processed, you're just going to get all bloated, you're not going to feel good. Your body's not getting the hydration, the electrolytes, and the energy that it needs to allow you to continue to function. So it's so important to get it really dialed in for your fueling on the day. I don't call race or training nutrition, I call it fueling, because I want you to focus on the component that we're really working on here, which is just fueling your body. Fueling it with electrolytes, fueling it with fuel, fueling it with hydration. To me, that's not nutrition. Nutrition is the stuff I do outside of my training that allows me to better prepare for it, but also to recover from it and to just be healthy in general. So I use a nutrition system that works great for me and my athletes and a lot of friends that I have that use this program because it's so effective. It saves time, it saves money, and it works better than anything I've ever found. So when people say I eat healthy, maybe you eat healthy-ish foods, but you're really just not eating crap. Eating healthy means adding in great superfood nutrients, because the food today is just deficient in nutrition. So we want to get that component added on there. But going back to fat adaptation, if I can help somebody get better fat adaptation out of their training, then they're going to be able to perform better in events, because they're going to be able to get a higher percentage of their energy coming from within their body rather than having to rely on adding it in from the outside. So how you can do that effectively, as I mentioned, doing fasted workouts, that's a really great thing that you can do just about every day. You can do that continuously. For some of those longer workouts, you might want to start looking into something that's going to allow you to stay into that fat burning state. So I use a product now called 3Carb. I used to use UCAN. We still have some here in the house, so we'll go back and forth a bit, but 3Carb is what we've been using now. And that's a great fuel source because it's really low glycemic, really doesn't kick in that insulin response, so your body's staying in that fat burning mode, which is so critical if you're looking to stay into that fat adaptation component. The other component or way of doing it is through fasting days. So if you go for a day or 2 or 3 without actually eating, your glycogen reserves get really low, obviously, and your body has to go after that fat for fuel. So we'll dial the intensity back, especially initially when I'm coaching people through that kind of a program, and get them to go out and train and get rid of the glycogen in their system, so their body gets it's forced to go in and access that fat for fuel. And then the next day you wake up and you go out and do another workout, very aerobic, kind of slow, easy and long, and just forcing your body almost to get to that state where you're going to bonk and run out of glycogen, but you're not going to run out of fat. It's in there. You just have to dial back the intensity to allow you to stay into that fat burning state. And the more you do that, the more you adapt to it and the better you get at it. And the example I give people when they're going through that process and they're not having a great time at it is, it's like going out running for the first time, and say you haven't gone running in a year and you're going to go out and get back running again. You're not going to feel great, but that doesn't stop you from doing it, right? So you do a little bit, you stop, you recover, you wait a day or 2, you go out and do it again, and you get better and you get stronger and you adapt and you can go longer and harder. Same thing with adaptation to fat. As you go through this process and you're going through these cleansing and fasting days, you're going to get better at accessing that fat for fuel, and it can take a little while. And I found following a low carb, high healthy fat diet, I've got my Net Fuel program, works great. And there's a lot of different ways of going through this, but if you can get your body to train through that process, it works amazingly well at getting you more quickly adapted to accessing fat at a higher level, at longer distances and higher intensity. So hopefully that was useful information. A lot of different things that we can talk about, but just the fact that you're going low carb is really going to make it easy for you to get into that fasted state, because it's just the glycogen is just not there for you to be able to access it. So you're going to get better at accessing the fat for fuel. Start easy, build up the intensity, and your body will adapt and it'll let you know where to go from there. Hopefully that was useful. Talk to you soon. Bye.